I almost forgot. Okay, okay, I'm coming. Oh, hey, you actually made it. I mean, not that I thought you weren't gonna show up. I just, you know, traffic exists from time to time, and same with the weather. As you can see, it's not the greatest. Uh, oh, yeah, yeah, come in. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were gonna cancel. I heard there was a thunderstorm on its way. I was sort of unsure with how it was gonna go. Oh, huh? Uh, my voice? It does sound a little more different, doesn't it? Yeah. Um. Yeah. Just been getting used to being who I am. When you met me, I sort of started this whole femboy thing, and now that we're talking and I gotta make friends, it changed a lot for me. So, and I'm in a little more comfortable of a position today than normal. So, thank you for wanting to come to my house for this book club. It's I. It's gonna be nice. I'm super excited. Um. Yeah. Oh, you can take off your shoes if you would like, or not. I'm not gonna enforce a shoe policy. This isn't a library or something. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't mind the books. Actually, never mind. You should absolutely mind the books. They are everywhere. I swear, I tried cleaning. I really did. But every time I put one away, I ended up finding another one I haven't read for a while. So then I couldn't help myself. I opened it. I started reading. Forgot I was cleaning. And then my brother came downstairs, yelled at me, and you can see where the cycle goes from there. Um, Come on, I should show you around where we start. I mean, there's not much to show. It's just your average house. Oh, well, a house in approximately 600 books or so. To your right is the living room. And yes, that couch is older than I am. And I'm not really that old when I think about it. But I'm pretty sure that couch is held together by hope. And maybe some duct tape. The TV works though, most of the time. No, the books under the table aren't for decoration. I was reading those recently. Okay, maybe not recently, but a while ago. Let's move on. To your left, there's the kitchen. Not exactly exciting. A sink, the fridge, my favorite place to be, and the cabinets. You know, kitchen things. Yeah, no, all the kitchen supplies I don't do. My brother also does that too. Oh, and yes, the tea is almost already done brewing. Yes, I made tea because what would it be, a book club, without some sort of snack? And I don't really have many chips or other things, but I have tea, so hopefully you'd like it. I did start it before you got here, and thought maybe when discussing out of all the books The Giver, we would need tea. I don't exactly know why. Just when you're reading it, it feels like a tea book. Some are like coffee books. Um, I don't know what would be a coffee book. Oh, tripods. That one right there. That's a that's a coffee book for me. Yet this one feels like a tea book. Um, the it's difficult to explain. Yeah. Oh, and down there down this hall over there. Let's not go in that room, because it's a disaster. A complete disaster. That's my room. Well, the state would call it a structural concern, and the HOA might get a little mad at me. Maybe next book club we can talk about that, after I spend about 6 months cleaning it. Oh yeah, to your right down the hall is the bathroom, just in case if you need it. And yeah, yes, there is an upstairs. We don't use much of it. It's a bit of a long story that I would not like to get into if you don't mind. So, other than that, that's pretty much it. Like I said, nothing big, nothing special. Not really a mansion, but just a comfy home for now. Oh, my brother? Yeah, I've brought him up a couple of times. You probably didn't know I'm a younger sibling. He's working, like, normal. He usually works a little late. So, it should just be us tonight. Yeah, he's always been busy. Especially lately. But, it's not exactly new. Anyway, enough about depressing adult schedules. We're here for some books and some tea. Mostly books. Okay, so I've started multiple different types of tea. Which one would you like? I've got black tea, green tea, herbal tea, and the mystery bag one that's been sitting on the drawer for so long I'm afraid to identify it. That's a good choice. The non-mystery option. You want to taste the mystery option? Maybe it's best if we don't for a little bit. It looks good sitting there. Anyway, let me pour this for you. There you go. Careful, it's still very hot. I know the steam is obvious, but every time I make tea, someone burns themselves. Now, for the snacks, it's nothing crazy, but I have these Ritz crackers. Yeah, I can't do anything crazy with them. Cookies? I seem like the type to make cookies. Oh, I did once. And then my brother yelled at me. Because last time I baking, I somehow managed to burn water. Don't ask. I didn't even know it was possible. Well, until I did it. I think I created something new. Or discovered something new. Does that make me like Einstein? Here, take some. You probably want this. I know, once again, the crackers aren't crazy, but it's something. I kind of got nervous, and I was like, what do I buy? And my brother was like, super confused, because I normally don't have people over, and he didn't really know you were coming over. I just said I needed some more snacks, and then he tried to talk me out of it, because, you know, we try to stay healthy around here. I think I'm doing okay. My brother says I'm a little too thin, but that's the point. I mean, it's not like I eat a lot. I eat, just not all the time. I also got a little nervous when trying to pick for you. But I'm nervous in general, as you know. It's just different. Sorry, I've just never been here with someone. Book. Yep, book. Focus. Okay. So the third meaning. That was kind of weird to think about. Not weird. Like, not bad weird, just, weird. Because the first meaning was what I thought was going to be a complete disaster. Nobody signed up. Nobody showed up. I spent 20 minutes preparing a speech for, well, what I thought would be absolutely no one. And then you walked in. honestly, I was already planning how I was going to explain to myself that the book club wasn't a failure. And then, suddenly, it wasn't. Funny how that works. Real funny. Okay, enough nostalgia. We have a book to discuss. The Giver. I've been waiting for this one. Like, actually waiting. Because everyone talks about dystopian novels and immediately jumps to things like 1984 or Fahrenheit 451. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love those books. But The Giver, in my opinion, always gets overlooked. Which is criminal. Absolutely criminal. Because this book is so much smarter than people get it credit. Sorry. Give it credit for. At first it looks simple, like really simple. Then you read the first few chapters and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. And then you slowly start realizing something is deeply wrong. Not in a dramatic way, in a quiet way. Which is, honestly, in my opinion, scary. Because nobody realizes anything is wrong. Everything is neat. Everything is organized. Everything is, well, safe. Everything is controlled. No one gets hungry. Nobody struggles. Nobody fights. And on paper, it sounds amazing. Until you start noticing what's missing. Choice. Emotion. Individuality. Life. And that's what I love about it. The horror isn't monsters. The true horror is comfort being taken too far. Actually, you know what? Let's start with a question. When you were reading it, what was the first moment you thought, hold up, something's not right here? Oh, yes, that is a good answer. I remember that part, and it definitely for me raised some red flags. Um, Actually, before I even read the book, I read the back of the book, all the informational stuff about the book, and I guessed how the book would end and how the book would play out before I even read it, so I kind of spoiled it for myself. But for me, the part, but for me, the part that raised some red flags was the way everyone talks. Even when reading the book, it just doesn't sound human. It almost sounds sort of like AI nowadays. Everything feels rehearsed or some form and some level of controlled. Like they're reading from a script somebody else wrote for them. And once I noticed it, I couldn't stop noticing it. It was honestly one of my favorite techniques in the entire book. Because Lois Lowry doesn't tell you the community's wrong. She lets you discover it yourself. And somehow that makes it hit even harder. You know, I think that's one reason why I love books so much. Books don't tell you what to think, they let you figure it out. They trust you, and I kinda like that. But we've barely started, we barely got tea, we barely have cookies. And we have an entire book to overanalyze, which means this is probably gonna take a while. Uh, got any comments beforehand? No? Okay. Now we've sort of established that The Giver is secretly one of the best dystopian novels ever written, we can move on to Jonas. Because honestly, the entire book falls apart without him. Well, you know, It's not because he's some super special chosen hero, but it's because one of the things I like the most. At the beginning, he is kind of normal, awkward, curious, a little nervous. Just some kid trying to figure things out. And then suddenly his entire world starts slowly unraveling as he's introduced to new friends, new people, and the whole world in general. Can you imagine that? Learning that basically everything you've ever been taught isn't the full truth? That adults around you aren't necessarily lying, but they're definitely not telling you everything? That would be terrifying, and that's why I think Jonas works so well. All his reactions feel real. He's confused, he's scared, he's even angry. He doesn't immediately know what to do. He just learns. And the more he learns, and the more he learns, the harder everything becomes. Which is honestly one of the coolest parts of the book. Because knowledge doesn't make his life easier, it makes it harder. Because now he notices things that the rest of the population will ignore. Things everyone else can't see. And once you see something, you truly can't unsee it. That happens in real life too. Not exactly like in the book, but you know, sometimes you learn something about yourself or your family or your life, and suddenly everything looks different, even if nothing actually changed. Anyway, before I become, philosophical or whatever, let's talk about memories because that's my favorite part. Actually, no. Favorite isn't the right word to use there. We'll say most interesting. Definitely most interesting. The entire idea that one person carries the memories of an entire society is wild. Imagine being responsible for every good memory, every bad memory, every beautiful moment, every terrible one. Everything. That's a lot. Like an impossible amount. The snow memory is probably one of my favorite memories, even if it's one of the most memorable and first ones you see. The sled. The snow memory is probably one of my favorite memories. The sled, the hill, the cold. It's such a simple scene. But for Jonas, it's the first time he experienced something real. Something outside of what his community allows. And I think that's what makes it powerful. Because it's not just snow. It's freedom, discovery, a memory that belongs to him, not the community. Him. You know what would be the first memory you'd keep if you had to choose? Just one memory. One memory that absolutely couldn't disappear. I'm just curious, could you tell me? If you can think of any. Oh. Hmm. Okay. I don't know why, but that wasn't something I was expecting from you. Yeah, that's a memory. But you see exactly what I mean? People aren't made from one big life-changing moments. Most of us are made from tiny things, like our little memories, our small moments, some stuff nobody else notices. I think that's why losing memories scare me. Not because I forget important facts, but because I'd forget important people or conversations. Maybe dumb little moments that mattered for no reason. Like our first book club meeting. It was a complete disaster, but I'd still keep it because it mattered to me. Actually, that's the thing I like about The Giver. It treats memories like treasure, not information. Treasure. And I think it's just a really important difference because information tells you what happened when memories tell you the moments, how it felt. And if feelings truly matter, even the bad ones, especially the bad ones, sometimes. I know it's a probably weird thing to say, but if you remove all the bad experience from a person's life, you don't really get a happier person. You just get an incomplete one. And that's basically the entire point of the book. The community thinks pain is a problem, so they remove it. But they actually remove everything else too. Love, joy, wonder, curiosity, and choice. They all disappear together because you can't separate them. Life just doesn't work that way. And then everyone tries to fit in, at least a little. But there's a difference when you think about it between fitting in and becoming invisible, you know? Like, hypothetically, if someone happened to be interested in other people, in, well, little things other people consider weird, like books, certain hobbies, certain clothes, certain aesthetics, that person might spend a lot of time wondering if they should hide it. Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything, truly hypothetical, obviously. Um, okay, maybe when you look at it like that, maybe it's not hypothetical. Just a little. I don't really know. Sometimes it feels easier to let people assume things because assumptions are simple. Explaining yourself is complicated, and people just can be weird about stuff. Books are easy. Nobody asks questions. Nobody gets upset because you enjoy reading. Nobody argues about your favorite chapter. Well, okay, well, most people don't argue, but book club people absolutely do. But it's different. It's that's part of the fun. Honestly, book I think books became a safe place for me because they were predictable. No matter how bad a day was, the book would still be there. The characters would still be there. The story would still be there. Nothing changed. And sometimes it's nice, especially when everything else feels uncertain. brother used to make fun of me for that. Not in a mean way. Well, usually not. He'd walk past my room, see me reading the same book for the 20th time, and he'd be like, "Kyle, you know how it ends." And I would tell him, that's not the point. Because rereading a book isn't about the ending. It's about spending time somewhere familiar. He never understood that. At least not completely. Anthony's always been more practical than me. Very much solve the problem and move on kind of person. Meanwhile, I would spend 3 hours analyzing why a fictional character would make a certain decision. So we're basically opposites. Actually, the more I keep thinking about it, Jonas and the Giver kind of remind me of that. One person is carrying the weight, and the other person's just trying to understand it. Huh? I never noticed that before. That's weird. Huh. I never actually noticed that before. That's a bit weird. That's a bit weird. Okay, before I start comparing my life to a dystopian novel, well, let's just take a quick break. Because we're only halfway discussing this book, and trust me, the really interesting stuff is still coming. Yeah. For a book club meeting, this one did get way heavier than I expected. Not that I'm complaining. I just thought we'd spend 30 minutes talking about dystopian governments and argue about symbolism. Instead, I'm actually sitting here questioning my entire existence. Which means it's a good book, you know? The best books usually leave you staring at the ceiling afterward. Actually, that's why I like The Giver so much. It's just honest. The community spends so much time trying to remove pain that it accidentally removes humanity. And I think about that a lot. More than I probably should, because pain sucks. Nobody wakes up and goes, "Wow, I hope today is emotionally devastating." Huh? Devastating? Oh, devastating. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. But pain proves something mattered. And that's what the community doesn't understand. If you remove grief, you remove love. If you remove fear, you remove courage. If you remove sadness, you remove joy. Everything has to come together. You just can't separate it. That's why change is important. It's life's true experiences. The whole thing. The good and the bad. And after it all, you can't go back. But you can look on and move forward. I think that's also what scares people the most. Change. Being different. Standing out. I know now we have all this stuff about pride, but people are still scared. Because once you let yourself be honest, you can't really pretend anymore. Which is why I never tell people about myself. It's easier that way. People could come to book clubs. I talk about books. Everyone leaves. Simple. Nobody asks questions. You don't ask questions. Nobody would dig deeper. You never dug deeper. But I don't know. This feels different. We've done this 3 times now. You're sitting in my house. You've listened to me ramble about books. I sort of lost the whole point of The Giver. I don't know what's going on. So maybe it's weird. Maybe it's weird I still haven't told you my name. Well, you heard me mention it earlier, but now I say it out loud, it sounds weird. 3 meetings, no name, just the book club guy, or the Femboy book club guy. And I know I brought it up when I was talking to my brother, but my name is Kyle. There, officially. Feels kind of strange saying that, because not because I don't like my name. I just never really properly introduced myself to other people. I either leak my name by saying it because I'm talking about myself or something. I feel like you should know it, considering you're more than a regular at this point. You're my friend. You know, when I was younger, books were kind of all that I had. Not literally, but close enough. My parents, they died when I was pretty young. So after that, it was mostly me and my brother Anthony. He's older than me by a lot. Well, I felt like it when I was a kid. It was because he was the one who raised me. Or, well, he tried to. Nobody really teaches someone how to suddenly become a parent, especially when they never planned to be one. Anthony was still figuring out his own life, and suddenly it was just me, the bills. No, not the football team. You must like your sports. I mean, like the taxes, the work, school stuff still. Everything all at once. And it's a lot for everyone. Or anyone. It's a lot for anyone. And I know that. I really do. He's not a bad person before you start thinking of what I said. He's not. He just works harder than anyone I know. He sacrificed more than I probably realized, and honestly, I owe him everything. But sometimes, trying still hurts around him. Sometimes he becomes exhausted. Sometimes work goes badly, and life goes badly, and when that happens, he gets angry. Not always, just enough that I notice. Occasionally, enough I start paying attention to things. When the door opens, when the car pulls into the driveway, his footsteps every time he moves, or in general, just the way someone talks, I can sort of tell when they're having a good day or a bad day. You start to learn those things. Maybe it's why I analyze fictional characters. It's practice. There were days growing up where I spent more times in books than anywhere else, because the books made sense. People just don't always make sense. But books did, even if it took a long time to get there. You can understand them. You can always reread them. You can always learn from them until you find everything. But then at that point, there could be a hidden meaning in the stuff that you learned, and you can apply it to your own life. And no matter how many times you've opened them, they've stayed the same. That's comforting. It still is. Sometimes I think books help raise me almost as much as Anthony has. Which sounds ridiculous, but I know. I don't actually know. Maybe not. And then there's the other thing. The thing I've been totally expertly avoiding this entire conversation. The Femboy thing. Yeah. Honestly, it's not even the clothes or the aesthetic. Actually, none of that. It's just the only version of myself that feels completely real. Which sounds a little bit dramatic, but it's true. When I'm reading, when I'm talking about books, when I'm being myself, that's when I feel normal. Not like everyone else, but like a me, like a Kyle normal. And that's different. The problem is, not everyone understands that. Some people hear one label and they immediately decide who you are, what you should be, what you're allowed to enjoy, and what you're not allowed to enjoy, and it's just exhausting. So eventually, you stop thinking about it and keep certain parts about yourself hidden just in case. That's why The Giver hits me so hard. That's why The Giver hits me so hard. The community already decided who everyone gets to be, what job they have, what life they have, what future they have. Nobody chooses. And every time I read that, I feel uncomfortable. Because I get it. Not the dystopian government part, thankfully, but the feeling. The feeling of wondering whether or not people still look at you the same way if they knew everything. That part. I understand that part. Maybe a little too well. But then I remember something. Jonas doesn't stay. He leaves. Not because he's fearless. Not because he's stronger than anyone else. But because he'd rather live honestly and comfortably. And I think that's brave. Genuinely terrifying, but brave. Maybe that's why he's one of my favorite protagonists of all time. Of all time. He just keeps going away. I know this was supposed to be about the Giver, and I don't know how we got here. Actually, that is a lie. I do know how we got here, but I didn't expect to talk this much. So congratulations. You know way more about me than the average person. And somehow that's your reward for joining a book club and now becoming my friend. I should have put on the flyer. Free tea and unexpected emotional honesty. Sounds super professional. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've kept you long enough. Anyway, next meeting, you're picking the book. No arguments. You've earned that right. And don't give me that look. I'm being serious. You have your chance. Thanks for coming. I mean, really. And before I start going for a 20-minute discussion, because trust me, I absolutely will. Thank you for being my friend. And no matter what happens, you're always in my heart. And I can't wait to see you again next month for another book club. Aw, thanks, you too. Um, See you at the next book club, okay? Don't worry, I'll walk you to the door. And I have an umbrella just in case you need to get back to your car safely. Got it? Okay. Sounds good. You better travel safely back home, okay? Alright. I'll see you. Bye. Thank you again. And I will tell my brother you said hi. Bye. Thank you.